So I have been daily live streaming since 2020, and since then I've met a lot of people on my live streams. It was my ultimate source to build a community. I was averaging around 100 live streams a year. However, as of 2025, I completely stopped doing daily live streams. So what exactly happened here? And why did I leave behind something that I used to love so much in the past? Today I'm going to explain how daily live streaming almost ruined my life. And oh boy, there is a lot to talk about. Now, before we have an answer on this specific question, let us go back a few steps and ask the following. What made me do daily live streaming in the first place? Well, if some of you remember, back in the day I tried several things to get myself to 1000 subscribers. Like playing new games, improving my video editing skills, or making compilations of a popular sprite series. But unfortunately for me, none of it seemed to work. However, there was one specific thing that I had tried before that had both a huge impact on my viewers and my subscribers. And that was live streaming. Lots and lots of live streaming. However, I had no idea where to begin in order to gain a respectful community just like I did in 2017. Which is where we go back to early 2020, when this whole thing all began to start. So as most of you would expect, 2020 started off as a very normal year for me. I just completed a really long Mario Kart Wii video and I wanted to take a break from making videos. But there was this thing called live streaming, and as some of you may know, back in the day I used to follow a weekly schedule of games I wanted to play. The order was Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Dead by Daylight and Super Mario Maker 2. And each live stream was on Saturday. Doing this for a couple of weeks, and at some point I had to stream Super Mario Maker 2. And it was this specific live stream where I noticed, hey, there's something going on. Something in my mind told me, yo, you should do this again, but longer. However, I ignored it and just went on with Mario Kart Wii next week, pretending that nothing has happened. But something big was about to happen. Something that would change everything. Enter the 18th of April 2020. I had to stream Super Mario Maker 2 again, and this stream initially became a huge gamble. I had in mind to stream for 4 hours of making my own levels and playing fewer levels. So the gamble here is nobody will join and I will continue working on my own levels for 4 hours straight, or people would actually join and send in their levels. Eventually at some point in the stream, people actually joined. In fact, so many people had joined that I had decided to stream for 8 hours instead of 4. And just because I was so close to 500 subscribers, I decided to stream again the next day. And after a few days of streaming, I had reached the 500 subscribers milestone. At this point in time, I was so overwhelmed by the support I've gotten over these streams that I had decided to go until I have 1000 subscribers. Which became one of the best decisions I have made on my channel. At least, that's what I thought. See, the problem here is, I had a lot of fun meeting new people on my live stream. But I honestly really didn't like streaming Super Mario Maker 2. Not because I didn't like the game, but purely because I had streamed it so often. I have to say though, there were some really fun moments in playing this game too. But mostly, it just felt like a big waste of time. And in June 2020, where I went on Discord and told people in my server that I didn't enjoy daily live streaming as much as I did before. These messages ultimately ended up being jokes because I had really shitty days at work. However, little did I know as an 18-year-old that I basically predicted future events in this post, but that's for later in the video. In the end, I just continued live streaming until I hit my ultimate milestone. Continuing on for a few months and I got myself to 1000 subscribers. Still though, I had to end this in the right way, so I had the stream marathon planned just because I had reached 1000 subscribers. And if the stream marathon was finished, the daily live streams would come to an end. At least, that's what I had planned. Because there was a big video in the making and I still needed some more stream clips. So I decided to continue daily streaming till the end of 2020. When that video was completed, it was finally time to stop with daily live streaming and move on to 2021. However, did you really thought I was stopping with daily live streaming? Oh hell no. I continued with daily live streaming in 2021 and 2022. And you want to know why I kept streaming? because I wanted to maintain my momentum to keep my monetization up. Those who are not familiar with the YouTube system, YouTube allows you to monetize your videos if you have 1000 subscribers and 4000 watch hours in the last year. And since my watch hours dropped rapidly at that point, I was running scared that I would lose monetization one day. And that is the reason why I forced myself to stream daily back in the day. This was a waste of my time. Especially because I had to play games I didn't even enjoy playing. Mario Maker was boring, Among Us was repetitive, and honestly I didn't like playing Mario Kart either, because I kind of had a lot of hours in those games. Let's just not talk about that, okay? Usually, the games that I enjoyed the most were viewed the least. I'm talking about games like Dead by Daylight or Fall Guys, but the collab streams were really fun as well. But for these kind of games, we had different ideas. What if I streamed these games on Twitch? I mean, I had been teasing going on Twitch for quite a while at that time, so I thought it was the perfect time to get things set up there. Maybe, just maybe, my audience will be bigger than YouTube for these kind of games. In the end, I just ended up playing Dead by Daylight because I wanted to make Twitch the non-family friendly side of my social media. Because if you know me, you know that I love to swear in front of my video games. I do it all the time. Now with me finally having a decent amount of games to stream, there was another problem around the corner. My obsession with video editing. This topic will return later on in the video, because video editing is a big reason why I stopped daily live streaming. But for now, we're briefly going to talk about it, because there was a big video in the making called GamerU's channel history, the journey to 1000 subscribers. This video took a tremendous amount of time to make, and also hugely affected my stream schedule. I was not happy about this, because I wanted to stream as much as I could, because I wanted to make my community happy. Yeah, honestly, that didn't really happen, because I really wanted to make the best out of the channel history video. The fewer the streams, the lower the viewer count and the lower the watch hours. I wasn't having any of it, so you know what I did? I made a deadline for the video. I wanted to upload the video at the end of 2021, which was just 2 months away. So obviously, this video was going to have some massive errors. And oh brother did it show. Let me explain. I spent a lot of time editing the intro, the font titles and the outro. Everything else was rushed. Even the voice clips. But as long as it was uploaded before the deadline, I honestly didn't give a fuck. I mean, I'm not blaming this video because this still is one of the best videos I've made on the channel, but holy shit, I should have started with this video many months earlier. Fast forward to 2022 and I still was really busy with daily live streaming. There was nothing really standing in my way aside from maybe a few projects here and there. That was until September of 2022, when I introduced you to Stream Recaps, now known as Best of Youktube. Now this was supposed to be an innocent kind of series where I could work on in my free time. What I didn't know, however, is the amount of consequences it would have in the future. If you don't know what Best of Youktube is, well, it's basically a series that covers your favorite clips from my live streams, with of course a lot of edits. And since I was the only one making these videos took forever to make. But with my ongoing internet issues back in the day, I felt like I had enough time to edit these kind of videos. I loved making Best of Youktube episodes back in the day, and the comment section was also very positive about it. So my motivation to go on with these kind of videos was incredibly high. There was Best of October, Best of November, Best of December, and so on. Ultimately, the series ended at August 2023, which was the 11th episode in the series. And since I had made Best of Youktube videos for a year at that time, I thought it was a good idea to make a Best of the Year episode. And since this was going to be a long video, I had decided to make this video on livestream. And to say this video took a long time to make is an understatement, because holy shit did it take an eternity. From making the intro, to editing the chapter font titles, to noting the clips suitable for the video, to editing the video altogether. It was an absolute nightmare, but doing this on livestream motivated me to actively work on the video. And with everything done and settled, I had one more thing left to say. I struggled with a lot on the later episodes, but more about that later. But with season 2 nearing, I think it's a good idea to talk about that for a bit too. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Best of Youktube season 2? This has to be a fucking joke. Okay, listen up, my younger self. If you just told me that all the Best of Youktube episodes were really hard to make, then why do you still continue with them? There's absolutely no point in doing that. Okay, let's first focus on our break and see where this is going in 2024. Around 2 months passed by and 2024 was around the corner. I was making things ready for the new Best of Youktube episodes. I knew the new episodes would stand out, but what I didn't know is the impact it would have on my mental health. Enter 2024, mentally one of my worst years ever, but we'll get to that topic later. Anyway, starting from the first stream, things went pretty smoothly. I of course had to get used to editing Best of YouTubes again, but I quickly got used to it. But since I had been making Best of YouTube episodes for quite a while at the time, I had to make sure the videos were actually worthy to watch. So editing these videos took a really long time. Nah, you know, as long as I enjoy making these videos, this shouldn't be that big of a problem, right? For 5 episodes, this turned out to be the case. However, when I started working on episode 6 on the 4th of May 2024, things took a different turn. I was browsing through clips from past livestream, and there was one specific clip that was so funny that I had decided to send that to friends, including my best mate Roy. And this is where things took a big twist. The conversation started with Roy accusing me of editing again. For the record, Roy sometimes jokes about me editing a lot, and I thought it would be the case for this scenario too. However, little did I know where this conversation would lead me. I replied with yes. I did watch the Remembrance of the Dead. Pretty cool, right?
Well, see you Monday then. Laughing fixer emoji.
I'll see if I can do something this evening. I'm running a little bit behind.
How are you running behind? You are literally editing 5 days a week.
So, a little pause in this conversation here. As some of you know, me and Roy used to play a lot of video games together back in the day. But ever since I started editing Best of YouTube episodes, I didn't have the time for that anymore. And Roy tried to tell me that. Anyway, after a bit of talking, Roy eventually sent me this.
Do whatever you like, but know that we will start to separate as friends this way.
And it was this message over here where I realized, what have I done? What has gotten into me that made me start doing this? This message hit me really hard, and I almost had a mental breakdown for realizing what I had done for the past few months. Imagine if this was you, and you had to make a choice between playing video games with friends and do whatever you like, or leave your friends behind and start doing YouTube stuff. What would you do? For me, from January 2024 to May 2024, it was the second option, without me even noticing it. You want to know how my day looked like back in the day? Wake up, get to work, go home, prepare dinner, eat dinner, start streaming, editing videos, sleep. Rinse and repeat. This has to stop immediately. And just like that, I had decided to let go of Best of YouTube. At least for the time being. In the meantime, I was focusing on doing a playthrough on one of my favorite games, Hogwarts Legacy. This game was incredibly fun to stream because there was so much to do in the game. I basically completely forgot about Best of YouTube being a thing on the channel because I was too focused on this game. That was until I completed the playthrough and started streaming the usual games again. I have been thinking to bring back Best of YouTube in a way I don't have to edit that much anymore. It took me a few streams to think about it, but I eventually had an idea. I'm going to start working on Best of YouTube again, but I'm only allowed to add 1 clip per livestream. From a perspective side, this looked like a really good idea. But in reality, this was one of the worst decisions I've ever made. But we're going to talk about this at the end of the video. Let's first focus on how it all began. Okay, this idea actually worked out really well at the beginning. I was now able to spend a lot of time with friends, even though I was streaming and editing videos in the background. As long as I had enough free time, I honestly didn't mind adding some more clips to the new episodes, even going as far as adding compilations to it. This system worked really well for me, so I decided to move on with it and eventually improve in the future. And that's how I was able to finish episode 6 and 7 without breaking a sweat. Episode 8 went smoothly too. However, I was pushing myself to add more clips to the new episode. This worked according to plan. but it was creating a problem in the background, but we'll once again talk about that later. When episode 8 was finished, I took a break from Best of Youktube and focused on yet another playthrough. This time of a translation of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Totally not requested by Yuri for the past 5 years. Okay, but honestly, I kind of had fun playing this game. I needed some help because, I'm kind of stupid and kind of dumb, But honestly, I didn't really mind about that. When I finished that playthrough, it was time to go back to Best of Youktube. Episode 9 and 10 were more or less the same as episode 8. However, I was trying out new things, like the cartoonified Super Mario 3D World compilation, the new edits, the new sound effects, etc. etc. Just the kind of stuff that brings back the vibes from the old episodes. I was kind of over-editing myself, but hey, it wasn't really that much of a problem. Because I was also focusing on doing playthroughs, one of which was Harry Potter 1.
Indringer! Indringer in de verboden gang!
That line never gets old, I swear to God. So with this, I was finally able to make full compilations again instead of single clips. I started doing this in episode 11. It worked out, but it was creating a problem I wasn't aware of at the time. See, with longer compilations you also need more time to work on the video. This problem especially became apparent at the Rainbow Galleria part, which was 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. I remember spending a lot of time editing this segment and avoiding voice calls with my friends, which understandably confused them a lot. But nah, it didn't matter, because the rest of the compilations didn't take that long to edit. When this episode was completed, I was focusing on yet another playthrough. This time of Mario and Luigi Brothership. There's not a lot to mention here. I just had fun playing this game and that's basically about it. However, what is worth mentioning is what happened after Mario and Luigi Brothership. Best of Youktube episode 12. This is the episode where it all fell down. To start, this was supposed to be a longer episode than the previous episodes because it would have been the final episode of 2024. However, this was not the case and ended up being one of the shortest episodes in the series. So, what exactly happened? Let's first start with how I wanted the episode to look like. To begin, there were already a few clips in this episode because I wasn't able to add them in the previous episode. Because if some of you remember, the 11th episode was entirely based around Super Mario Party Jamboree. So all leftover clips from that episode were pushed to this episode. There were a few clips from Remnant Records and a clip from Gardic Phone which were nothing too special. And then there was this Ahead in Time compilation, which was a whole different story. I introduced you to the Mustache Gauntlet Calamity. Not only the most difficult compilation in that episode, but the most difficult and time-consuming compilation ever. This compilation took me approximately 30 hours. You heard it right, 30 fucking hours. On top of that, I was also on the time limit because I wanted to upload this episode at the end of the year. I had a lot of work to do, and the only way I could do this is to leave the VC earlier and tell my friends I had a busy day coming up. Every single day. By the way, with earlier, I meant 10 PM instead of 1 AM midnight. This obviously has raised some eyebrows from the Dutchies. They wanted to know what has gone into me. I had grown increasingly more toxic and aggressive towards my friends without them doing anything wrong. Making hateful reactions just because I wanted to leave the call and move on with video editing. At some point, Roy contacted me because he was done with this shit. He wanted to get to the bottom of this. Why I've been acting so strangely, why I've been leaving the voice call so early, and so on. I once again tried to come up with excuses just because I wanted to prioritize video editing. For example, stopping earlier because I was starting to get tired, no more looking for sales in the grocery stores, and well, the PTSD from video editing I had left from earlier that year. By the way, I still find it funny that I literally said that my video editing didn't affect him as much as before. And basically that I was video editing when I was not in the voice call. That basically already gave away the fact that I was acting so weird. Approximately a few days later, I went on Discord and confessed to the Dutchies that I was still editing Best of Youktube when I was away from the voice call. I didn't want to do this anymore, so I decided that the 12th episode would be the final episode before I completely abandoned the series. See, the reason why I didn't mention editing videos in that conversation from a few days ago is because I was afraid they would make fun of me. And I honestly was not in the mood for that. Following this conversation, I've also decided to stream one more time in 2024 with some Best of Youktube clips. The final episode was not done yet. I had to make one more push before finishing it. It took me a few days, but I had managed to complete it. Best of YouTube was finally finished. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was 2024 for me. What a rollercoaster of a year it has been. Time to take a break and move on to 2025. ...2024 was over and I was enjoying my break. I knew this year was going to be different because Best of YouTube was officially over, so I didn't have to worry about making episodes anymore. I instead had in mind to make simple clips that take mere minutes to complete instead of full compilations. Not a lot, but only when the time was right. When my break was over, I started streaming again. I had in mind to start 2025 with a Dead by Daylight stream. Nothing too special, just your average Dead by Daylight stream. And that was the only stream of 2025 till late May. What exactly has happened? The answer was really simple. I was done with daily live streaming. I figured out that I didn't enjoy daily live streaming as much as before anymore. It was not because of the decrease in viewership on my streams, but more because of the problems I had caused over the past few years. Especially with Best of YouTube. I wanted to change that and spend more time with my friends. Now a quick recap of what exactly happened here. I started daily live streaming somewhere in 2020 just because I wanted to reach the 1000 subscribers milestone. I didn't enjoy daily live streaming because I only streamed Super Mario Maker 2. So I started streaming more games than just Mario Maker. Upon reaching 1000 subscribers in September, I wanted to stop daily live streaming. But with a stream compilation in the making, I had decided to go on with daily live streaming till the end of the year. However, even after the stream compilation, I still continued with daily live streaming for the upcoming years just to maintain 4000 watch hours a year to keep monetizing the channel. Doing this for some time and I eventually came up with Best of YouTube at the end of 2022. This was a series I was making when I had internet issues and couldn't access the internet. This series ended up going really well, until of course 2024. From that point on, I was so focused on video editing that I almost left my friends behind. This took me a few months to realize, but this ultimately became one of the reasons why I had left live streaming behind. The other reason, which I didn't mention throughout the video, is that I listened too much to my viewers. I ultimately ended up streaming games I didn't even enjoy. And this also was the reason why I started with Best of YouTube, to still make some enjoyments out of those games. Now of course, there were some games that were actually enjoyable, but most of these games just weren't my taste. And one perfect example of that is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You know, I've never been a Smash fan before, but I had only bought it because people have been requesting me to buy it. The same goes for many other games that I had streamed in the past too. I only streamed these games just to entertain my viewers. It almost felt like I was delusional and completely lost my mind. Now, that's enough yapping about the past. The real question is, do I regret my past? I can answer that in two perspectives. On one side, yes, because daily live streaming was the reason why I almost lost some of my best mates. And I basically threw 4 years away to maintain a certain amount of viewers. But on the other side, I can say that I have learned a lot through these 4 years. Not just of how exhausting daily live streaming can be, but also because of how important friendship is. If it wasn't for my friends, I still would have been stuck doing Best of YouTube and still would have been stuck doing streams of games I do not enjoy playing. And I really need to thank my friends for this, but the biggest thank you goes to Royster. If he didn't stood up against my actions, our friendship would have been gone. And this is your reminder that your friends are way more important than content creation. Friends are there to care for you. Content creation is something for those who really understand it. And before I end the video, let me just remind you that live streaming is not as fun as you think. Live streaming requires a lot of concentration. You actively need to entertain the chat and do your own thing at the same time. If you're up for this challenge, go for it. And please do me a favor and only stream games that you actually enjoy. No matter who you are, everyone on this planet has a breaking point, so make sure to not break yours. Anyway, I hope this helps for you. If you have additional questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to respond to it ASAP. Anyway, I'm off playing some Sonic Racing Crossroads, so see you all in the next one. Peace.